increased by just 107,000. Forecasters were expecting 150,000.
Have arrived at your
An index of what it costs to
Your rap
employ
guidance
people
is now finished.
posted its smallest increase in 2.5 years, suggesting inflation is really coming down. The official hiring and unemployment reports Friday. Yes, it says it's going to end the jobs of 12,000 in the coming months. It's to save money, boost profits at a time of lower worldwide growth and package delivery. Marketplace's Stephanie Hughes has more on why most of the layoffs will be management positions.
Trimming the fat, cutting costs, right-sizing. These are all phrases that shareholders love to hear. Professor of management. And he says when a company cuts costs by eliminating jobs, managers are often a prime target.
It's hard to measure what they do often. If you're cutting frontline workers, we kind of know what that does. And for a company like UPS, you can't easily cut those folks in delivering packages.
UPS says that AI might be able to pick up the managerial slack, but Capelli isn't so sure.
So far, you can't point to very much that says, aha, it's taking over this function.
There have also been layoffs recently in tech, media, and finance. And University of Virginia business professor Yo-Jun Chang says that
it's going to become a little bit more challenging for laid-off workers to find new roles just because a lot of other companies are going through a similar process.
Chang says layoffs could turn out to be dangerous. If companies see their peers cutting jobs, they might decide they need to be a little leaner themselves. I'm Stephanie Hughes for Marketplace.
Advertising giant Alphabet, Google, YouTube reported disappointing ad sales for last quarter yesterday, and its capital expenditures were up. Competition from China-based rival TikTok is intense. Alphabet stock is down 5.3% in market trading now. Let's do the indexes here. Mixed. NASDAQ futures are down a lot, 1%. S&P futures are down 0.4%. Dow futures are up 0.1%. In about 5 hours, the bulletin from the Federal Reserve will hit. It will likely announce no change in interest rates for now. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer is our Fed watcher.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell is facing another tough balancing act today. He'll have to acknowledge that inflation is slowing. He has been raising interest rates to slow the economy and cool inflation, but he doesn't want to overdo it. Investors are expecting the Fed to start cutting rates as early as March. Gregory Dacko is chief economist at EY. He says Powell will also have to make it clear that inflation could still flare up again.
Supply chains or transportation costs could start to feel more pressure with shipping costs rising. That could eventually be fed into consumer goods prices.
Dacko will be looking for specific language like soon or at upcoming meetings with insight when the Fed might actually cut rates. And because the era of unanimous votes at Fed meetings on interest rates is coming to an end, with more dissenting voices at the Fed as it weighs the tricky timing of lowering rates. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Deloitte. Advancing the future takes more technology. Takes more. And by JLL, a commercial real estate partner dedicated to creating lasting change for good in business, communities, and the planet. JLL.com. See a brighter way.
Universal Music, the gargantuan record label, says it's now pulling its songs off of the gargantuan social media site TikTok after the two sides failed to reach a new licensing agreement. Universal accused the short video app of trying to build a music business without paying artists and songwriters fairly. Here's the BBC's Tom Bailey.
Talks between the two sides have been continuing for some time, with issues including royalty payments and the use of AI-generated music recordings proving sticking points. Now, in a dramatic move, Universal has announced it will be removing its entire song catalogue when an existing agreement expires later today. TikTok has said it's saddened and accused Universal of walking away from a platform that serves as a free promotional vehicle for music acts. But it looks like tunes from artists including Taylor Swift, Harry Styles and The Weeknd could soon be unavailable to the platform's over 1 billion users.
This is a flash of titans. You heard him say, $1 billion plus for TikTok, and Universal controls a third of the music in the world. In New York, I'm David Barnett. 8 p.m., American Public Media.
About a third of American households are renters, and some of them don't plan on buying ever.
To me, it's just more, having a roof over my head that I'm paying for in a different way.
I'm Connor Roosevelt. What that brings forever lifestyle says about the housing market. Today, that's time on Marketplace.
Catch up on all of today's business news with Marketplace at 6 o'clock tonight on KOSU and KOSU.org. You're listening to Uniquely Oklahoma, 91.7 KOSU Stillwater, Oklahoma City, 88.3 KOSR and KOSR Digital Stillwater, 107.5 KOSN Catching Tulsa, 107.3 K297 AQ Bixby Tulsa, 94.9 K235 CG Park City. You can also listen to us online at KOSU.org or by telling your smart speaker to play KOSU. It's 8 o'clock.
Good morning. Qatar, a wealthy country that tries to be friends with everyone, is trying to negotiate a pause in the war between Israel and Hamas. We'll ask the Prime Minister what the prospects are on Morning Edition from NPR News. Coming up, we look at Jackson, Mississippi's historically troubled water system. I'm Steve Hinsky.
And I'm Layla Falden. Some of the city's poorest residents are receiving exorbitant water bills, so what's being done to fix it? And The Groundlings, a sketch and improv theater in Los Angeles where actors like Will Ferrell got their start, is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It's Wednesday, January 31st. If anyone's gonna wish happy birthday to this former NSYNC star, it's gonna be me. Justin Timberlake is 40 years old today. The news is next.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. A Republican-led House committee has voted to advance articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports Republicans have been demanding that the Biden administration stop the record number of migrants crossing the southern U.S. border.
In debate leading up to the vote, House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green said a Republican-led investigation found evidence to warrant the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas.
He has willfully and systematically refused to comply with the laws passed by Congress. The results have been catastrophic.
Democratic Ranking Member Benny Thompson shot back, calling the effort a politically motivated sham.
In a process akin to throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, Republicans have cooked up vague, unprecedented grounds to impeach Secretary Mayorkas.
A full vote on the House floor to impeach Mayorkas is expected to be held as early as next week. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
The UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency says it won't be able to provide assistance beyond February unless donations to the organization proceed. As NPR's Greg Myrie reports, the U.S. and other Western countries have suspended aid following Israeli charges that a dozen UN agency employees were linked to the Hamas attack on Israel.
The UN agency, known as UNRWA, only has enough current funding for about another month, according to spokeswoman Juliet Tuma. The agency is most active in Gaza, where it provides food, medicine, and education. It also supports Palestinian refugees in the West Bank and neighboring countries. The U.S., the largest donor to UNRWA, has suspended support along with other Western countries. They announced the move after Israel compiled a dossier alleging a dozen UNRWA employees were involved in the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Israel names the employees and provides their photos in the document, which NPR has obtained. Greg Myrie, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
Halfway through winter, snowpack levels are far below normal across much of the western U.S. But as NPR's Nathan Roth reports, major storms are expected to hit the west coast later this week.
California water officials say that the state's snowpack is roughly half of what is typical for this time of year, in part because many of this year's storms have been warmer and colder. The state's Department of Water Resources.
Where you would tend to see more rainfall, where you would have typically seen snow.
2 atmospheric rivers are expected to bring lots of rain and snow to California and the broader West in the coming days. Nathan Rott, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Good morning, Oklahoma. Live from KOSU, I'm Dr. Cross on this Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. It's 8:04. Fallout is growing over a new teacher bonus program where some recipients were told to pay back the money to the Department of Education. State Impact's Logan Layton reports.
State Superintendent Ryan Walters sent a letter to the leaders of the Oklahoma House and Senate accusing the media of spreading misinformation about the program and blaming teachers for misrepresenting their experience and qualifications. Walters doesn't specifically refute anything about the story, and State Impact stands by its reporting. In the letter, Walters touts the overall success of the program, which is designed to address the ongoing teacher shortage in the state, and says there's a rigorous and ongoing audit process that includes a callback mechanism. At least one teacher is now suing the Department of Education over its demand to pay back their bonus. In Oklahoma City, I'm Logan Layton.
Attorney General Gentner Drummond is trying to keep federal funds for family planning services coming to Oklahoma. State Impact's Jillian Taylor reports the money is getting withheld because of our state's abortion ban.
Clinics participating in Title X programs offer confidential and low-cost family planning resources for all ages, including contraceptives, counseling, and pregnancy testing. The State Department of Health has received funding since 1971, but in the wake of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, Oklahoma basically banned abortion, and the State Department refused to offer information on it, saying it would be contrary to state law. Then, its federal dollars were revoked. 2 months after his initial lawsuit against the Biden administration, Drummond is filing an injunction, which, if successful, would mean the federal government could not withhold another year's worth of Title X money. Those funds will be distributed on April 1st, and Drummond argues the state and its services will suffer irreparable harm without them. For State Impact, I'm Jillian Taylor.
Tulsa Community College receives the largest federal grant in the school's history. The Department of Education awarded the school more than $3.7 million for a first-year student program. Funding will provide laptops and wireless hotspots to 500 new social science students, as well as toward hiring new support faculty. Dean of Libraries, Paula Satoon, says those students will be monitored as part of the program.
We'll be looking at how their first-year experience is changed with the supports we're putting in place.
Senior VP and Academic Officer Angela Sividon says the program is part of an effort to reduce dropout rates.
We hope that this does help with retention and allows them not to have to make choices about whether they pay their bills or take care of their kids or come to college.
Known as the Post-Secondary Student Success Grant, PCC officials say the funding is highly sought after by many colleges and universities. Turning to your forecast, sunny skies today, highs around 70, light and variable winds. Tonight, increasing clouds, lows in the mid to upper 40s. Tomorrow, gradually clearing skies with increasing winds, highs again around 70, lows tomorrow night around 50. Friday, highs in the mid to upper 60s. A chance of showers and possibly a thunderstorm Friday night. This is KOSU.
It's Morning Edition of NPR News. I'm Steve.
And I'm Layla Faldin. Israel's hope for a return of hostages and Palestinian hopes for an end to the Israeli bombardments lie in the small Gulf nation of Qatar. In Tel Aviv, against a backdrop of images of more than 100 hostages in captivity since the Hamas attack, one Israeli, Yoav Gavai, poses a question.
What pressure levels does Qatar apply on Hamas so that it accepts a deal that will bring the hostages back?
In Rafah, Ahmed Abu Taha says Palestinians in Gaza have a different wish. He's saying he wants to go back home. They've been dragged in the streets, rain, cold, disease, there is nothing left. With those voices in mind, I sat down with Qatar's Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, met me at his residence in Washington, D.C. after announcing a framework for a deal between Israel and Hamas. I asked if an agreement is truly possible. Israel wants a pause in the war, and Hamas wants a full ceasefire and withdrawal of Israeli troops.
We cannot predict that. Is it going to have a breakthrough and will move forward very fast, or how fast it will go? It will all depend on both parties. Our aim is to finish this as soon as possible and to bring the hostages back to the closure for the war as well.
You don't see this in days or in next week, some type of ceasefire and return of hostages.
Sometimes the negotiations can surprise us and can finish in days, but some other times also, we get stuck into details, and it all depends on how the atmosphere will be.
We're speaking at a time of extremely heightened tensions after a drone strike that killed 3 U.S. servicemen and others. How is that impacting negotiations, and what are your concerns for the region as the U.S. mulls how to respond to that drone attack?
First of all, I'd like to express my condolences for U.S. soldiers and for their families. Look, the situation in the region is just stirring up, and we've seen the provocation happening every day. And we were warning that the situation will be exploited by others and might lead us to a wider region. That's what we've been preventing, talking to everyone in order to de-escalate and to contain the situation. Is it impacting the negotiation directly? It's not. We are hoping that everything get contained as soon as possible. We understand that, of course, the U.S. has the right to decide on the way to retaliate. Just let's hope that we have a cooler heads ahead of us and doesn't get out of control.
For a lot of Americans, they don't understand Qatar's support for Hamas. If you could talk about why Qatar has been the home for Hamas officials and has had the support of Qatar.
Well, Qatar actually support peace, support the Palestinian people to live in dignity. We don't support Hamas or any political factions over there. In fact, Qatar support that goes to the Palestinians. 55% of that support went to the West Bank and 45% went to Gaza. It went directly to the people. It has nothing to do with any political party over there. The Hamas office was in coordination with the US, and it was for a purpose. And this presence has served this purpose throughout the years. So it's part of our role as mediator. Unfortunately, this has been misused. They try to play the blame game against discourage any other country from stepping up and playing a role in restoring peace and stability in our region. His Highness the Emir has been repeating this, just ignore the noise and focus on your objective. If we are saving lives, that will be enough for us.
Israel's far-right-wing Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said Qatar encourages terrorism, finances terrorism, pushes terror, and is playing a double game. Leaked audio from Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Qatar problematic and said that your country is failing to use the leverage you have over Hamas since Qatar houses and funds the activities. If you could respond to these remarks, including from a minister that seems quite extreme.
I won't bother in commenting on irresponsible remarks that, as you have just mentioned, but the premise of funding Hamas is totally rejected, and it's been clear from day one. The way we are funding Gaza was happening under his watch, under his government watch, other governments' watch, and it's a very legitimate, transparent process that goes directly to the people and it's verified by the UN. I believe that all the people who knows and who understand the process, they know that these are lies and they are just trying to mislead the public opinion.
I want to ask about Israel's stated goal of this war and what the U.S. efforts to eradicate Hamas. In your view, is that possible?
Well, eradicating a group does not have a definition. The definition is killing. We have seen the result of the war right now. More than 25,000 being killed. 2/3 of them are children and women. Is that part of eradicating Hamas? If you want to replace an idea, you have to present a better idea. The better idea is prospects for the Palestinians, is a political horizon, and that's what all of us we are seeking.
Should Hamas have a role in future Palestinian government?